What if Obi Wan fell in love with Padme during the Clone Wars? Hope you guys enjoy, and before we get into it, for 70,000 subscribers, and 75 and 80, we're going to be doing a series of giveaways, just for thanking you guys for getting me to these milestones. So, there'll be lightsabers, novels, Lego sets, so be sure to subscribe so you can be eligible for the upcoming giveaways, and let's get right into it. Our story begins inside of the Jedi Temple, as many of the Jedi were heading to their quarters for the night. The war has dragged on for a long time, and Obi Wan Kenobi was moving towards his room when he saw Anakin Skywalker across the hall. He had his head down and seemed to be in a terrible mood. Obi-Wan knew that Anakin just returned from a mission on Scipio, where he managed to stop a separatist takeover of the banks, and the mission was with Padme Amidala. Obi-Wan asked now how it went. Anakin just shrugged, saying it was another victory, nothing crazy to report, and he just walked past Obi-Wan, very clearly upset about something. Obi-Wan put his hand to his beard. He was concerned about his former student. He wanted to find out what was going on. So as the temple got quiet and Anakin went to sleep, Obi-Wan got into a speeder and flew across Coruscant to Padme's apartment, trying to find out what was going on. When Obi-Wan landed, C-3PO greeted him, saying the senator has retired for the night. Obi-Wan thanked the droid and prepared to leave when he heard Padme's voice. She called out to him, telling Obi-Wan it's alright, she'd like him to stay. She has time to talk. So Obi-Wan walked across the balcony with a small smile as he and Padme hugged, then sat down on the couch. Obi-Wan said that Anakin seemed distraught at the temple, and he knew that Anakin just went on a mission with Padme. Padme nodded, then told Obi-Wan that they got into a fight, saying this was something that was more and more common as the stresses of war piled up every day. And as Obi-Wan said it would be alright, Padme softly told Obi-Wan it was actually more than just a fight. They broke up, she thinks. Anakin overreacted when he saw her with Rush Clovis, an old boyfriend of hers, and Anakin ended up beating him up when Rush got too close to her. The intentions were good, but Anakin went too far as he often does, and Padme just needed some time away. It was messy and complicated, and she started crying on the couch. Obi-Wan told her that he is not blind. He has seen the way that the two of them interact, and he has chosen not to interfere because it made Anakin happy, and it made her happy. And Obi-Wan loved seeing them happy together. But as Padme was crying now, she asked Obi-Wan to hold her, and so he did. She cried in Obi-Wan's arms, and when she was done, she asked Obi-Wan if he'd ever been in love before. Obi-Wan was happy to tell Padme everything about Satine from Mandalore, from his first missions with her long before the war, to reigniting the flame during this war, and then her tragic death. Obi-Wan said he thinks about her all the time, but he has forced himself to move on. The two of them sat together for a long time, and Padme had 3PO bring out some wine to sip on. Obi-Wan was telling Padme many different stories about his adventures with Satine, and what it was like to truly be in love. It was something Obi-Wan didn't think he would ever experience, nor did he want to experience it, until he met Satine. But ever since then, he's been much more open to it. He's struggled to hide his own emotions at times, just like Anakin, and Obi-Wan admitted that he has formed a legitimate attachment to Anakin. Padme and Obi-Wan continued talking, laughing together while drinking the wine, and Obi-Wan realized something dangerous. He realized that deep down, he had similar feelings with Padme like he did with Satine. Obi-Wan tried to brush these away. It was a dangerous path for many reasons, but as the night got longer, the drinks got larger, and both Padme and Obi-Wan ended up on the couch together, holding each other, comforting each other over their struggles in relationships, and something happened. They interlocked their hands and it just felt right. The Coruscant sun was beginning to rise when Padme looked Obi-Wan in the eyes, and after hours of bonding, they kissed each other. Was it a mistake? Maybe, but both Padme and Obi-Wan were not thinking about anything other than this moment, and they would soon fall asleep, holding each other out on the balcony. When morning came along, Anakin Skywalker woke up inside of his room in the Jedi Temple. He hated sleeping here. Usually he would only be here if Padme was off-world, working on some negotiations. But last night he slept in the temple for very different reasons. He and Padme were in a very rough patch of their relationship, and they even agreed not to continue seeing each other any longer. But as morning came, Anakin knew that is something he simply cannot do. He didn't know if he could live without Padme. She is truly everything to him, and Anakin refused to just let their relationship end like this. Anakin knew he may not be the best boyfriend, but he was trying to be better. He often overreacted, got jealous, angry, but Anakin convinced himself it was all out of love. He was her husband after all. At least, he was. He wasn't sure anymore after they broke up the other day. He feared losing Padme the same way he feared his mother, and so when Anakin saw Clovis getting close to her, he lost it. After all, Clovis proved to be a bad guy in the end. Anakin still knew he was wrong not to trust Padme fully, and so right away in the morning, Anakin took off into the local shops, buying flowers and Padme's favorite breakfast meal as he took a speeder to her apartment. On the balcony of Padme's apartment, Obi Wan Kenobi was waking up as the sun was really shining in his face. He was a bit hungover from last night, and he slowly remembered everything. The long talks with Padme, opening up emotionally in a way he never really did, sharing lots of laughs, and eventually the kiss before falling asleep in each other's arms. Obi-Wan found himself both full of regret and excitement, and as he was about to wake Padme up, he saw a Jedi speeder headed towards the apartment. This could only mean one thing, and so as Padme woke up and looked to where Obi-Wan was supposed to be, he just disappeared. She then turned to the balcony to see Anakin arriving with the flowers and her favorite breakfast, and Anakin got out of the speeder, telling Padme he is so sorry, moving towards her, when suddenly Anakin stopped, sensing something. He set down the flowers and the food, then asked Padme if Obi-Wan had been here. Padme nodded, saying that he stopped by last night to check on her and ask what was going on with Anakin. This made Anakin very confused. He remembered Obi-Wan asking him last night if everything was okay. And from inside the main bedroom, Obi-Wan hid behind the door as Anakin and Padme were talking, and Padme thanked Anakin for coming by, but she is still not ready to rekindle the relationship. She didn't know if she will ever be ready, and Obi-Wan felt a shift in the Force, a wave of sadness that surrounded Anakin, as he soon accepted this and left. He obviously wouldn't force this on Padme. He could only hope that with some time away from each other, they would see how much they need each other. And once Anakin was gone, Obi-Wan stepped back onto the balcony, asking Padme if she was alright. She looked to Obi-Wan, then to the traffic where Anakin now was, and she stuttered, flustered, asking Obi-Wan to go. They were betraying Anakin's trust right now, and she is not comfortable with that. Obi-Wan agreed that he also cannot do this, and he left for the temple. And for the next month, all three of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme would try to put all of their focus into the war. But all three of them were busy thinking of each other. Anakin was excellent at distracting himself from his emotions by fighting in battles, and so he just kept fighting every day that he could while occasionally remembering Padme, hoping she would soon be ready to take him back. Obi-Wan fought in his share of battles as well, some of them with Anakin, and every time he was with Anakin, Obi-Wan was filled with guilt over the night he kissed Padme. But perhaps the worst part of this was that despite the guilt, Obi-Wan wanted to relive that night again and again. That night with Padme was unlike anything he'd experienced in so long, and as Obi-Wan accepted this, he soon realized a harsh truth. He was in love with Padme. This filled him with guilt and excitement, and Padme was trying so desperately to end this war peacefully, but it was going nowhere. After that night with Obi-Wan, Padme doubled her efforts in the Senate, putting even more hours into negotiations that were shut down time and time again by Palpatine. Padme's work inside the Senate had Palpatine worrying that she might actually disrupt his plans. She simply had to die, and so Palpatine began reworking plans to assassinate her, plans that he originally scrapped after finding out about her relationship with Anakin. But he knew that they were no longer together, so killing her should not be that big of an issue. The following day, Palpatine would assign Padme to go to the planet Clabron, a neutral system that was interested in joining the Republic. Padme was excited for this mission, as it was sort of separate from the constant war, and so she gathered a small group of her handmaidens, and they prepared to take off to the coordinates given to them by Palpatine. The Jedi Council was informed of this mission, as they were of all missions, but they were especially interested in this one. Clabron was a planet that was adamant on staying out of the war, so the Jedi wondered why now they would want to join the Republic. Something was off, and so they decided to send a Jedi to protect Padme, and Obi-Wan Kenobi was the only council member available for a mission of this importance, and so he was sent to protect her. The Jedi and the Chancellor were on rocky terms, so Palpatine was not informed of this. Neither was Padme. Obi-Wan was to go to the planet on a recon mission, only get involved if things get rocky, and as Obi-Wan took off to the planet, a small part of him was hoping for danger, so he could be with Padme again. On Klabron, Padme landed her ship just outside of some mountains, in an open plain where she was told the negotiators would be meeting her. But when she arrived, no one was here to greet her, so cautiously, Padme and her two handmaidens stepped out of the ship, walking through the grass, ready for anything. As they looked around, one of the handmaidens, Mote, spotted a reflection atop the mountains, and she dove in front of Padme right as a sniper blast fired, hitting Mote right in the chest. The other handmaiden, Dorme, fired at the sniper and got in front of Padme. They were out in the open, running now as a few sniper shots barely missed them. There were two snipers here, and Dorme managed to shoot one of them, but the other sniper killed her at the same time. Padme was sprinting back to her ship, and the assassin fired a perfect shot that was about to kill Padme, when a blue lightsaber suddenly deflected it. Obi Wan Kenobi was here, and he deflected the blast away. The next few shots were fired at Padme's ship, and the engines were knocked out quickly. Obi-Wan ushered her into the mountains, and they quickly found a small cave to hide in. Obi-Wan stood just outside the cave entrance, waiting for this assassin, and from inside, Padme saw the assassin sneaking up on Obi-Wan. She quietly aimed, firing her blaster, taking out this assassin, and Obi-Wan turned around, thanking her. Padme ran into Obi-Wan's arms, saying she's tired of all of this. For years, attempts on her life have been going on, and it was all just too much. Obi-Wan said he understands, and he held on to Padme for a while, before they moved to Obi-Wan's ship to get out of here. But they soon found that Obi-Wan's ship was torn apart by the assassins, and seconds later, they heard an explosion. It was Padme's ship. There were more assassins here. The two of them ran back to the cave they were just in, and they were faced with a new situation. They were stuck here. All communication was completely cut off. The nearest civilization was so far away, as Padme was told to meet here to avoid any danger. Ironic. And inside of the cave, the two of them waited together as the 5 assassins were searching for them. And when they walked inside of the dark cave, Obi-Wan ignited his blade, cutting down 2 of them. The light from his lightsaber allowed Padme to shoot 2 more, as Obi-Wan knocked the last one to the ground, asking who hired them. The assassin simply bit down on an electric capsule to kill himself, and Kenobi and Padme were left with no answers. All they had left was Padme's bag from the ship that had enough supplies and food to last a few days while they wait for Republic aid to arrive. And they also had each other. On Coruscant, when neither Padme or Obi-Wan were heard from for over a day, panic began to set in, and the Jedi would assign 2 teams to find them. One team, led by Anakin, would travel to Tythe, where Dooku was leading a separatist assault. Anakin was tasked with finding Dooku, getting him to reveal that he tried to have Padme assassinated. This would hopefully push the Separatist Senate into pushing forward peace negotiations. The other team, led by Stas Alley, would travel to Klabron and try to find Padme and Obi-Wan before it was too late. Days would go by, and Padme and Obi-Wan would spend these days together. At first, there was some awkward tension, as the two of them hadn't spoken much since the night on Padme's balcony. But as time went by, Obi-Wan admitted that he hasn't been able to get her off his mind, and Padme admitted that she, too, spent many hours thinking about their night together. The two of them would reignite the spark from that night, while staying in this cave together, using each other to keep warm, and they both simply gave in to their feelings for each other. Despite their dire circumstances, neither of them wanted to be anywhere else, as they fell in love with each other. On Tythe, Anakin and the 501st provided much-needed reinforcements to take back this planet, but Anakin and a group of commando clones were on a special mission. While the battle was going on the ground orchestrated by Dooku, Anakin and these commando clones snuck aboard Dooku's ship by moving through space with spacesuits on, and while Anakin moved to the bridge to confront Dooku, the commandos were taking down droids all throughout other key areas. On the bridge, Dooku heard the door open, and he felt through the Force that Anakin was here. Anakin wasn't exactly hiding his presence. His anger was radiating off of him as he yelled to Dooku, demanding to know if he sent the assassin to kill Padme. Anakin was angry, as neither Padme or Obi-Wan were communicating to the Jedi. For all he knew, both of them were dead. Dooku ignited his red blade, telling Anakin that he has confirmation that both Padme and Obi-Wan are dead, and now he will die as well. This, of course, was a lie. But Dooku saw an opportunity here. Perhaps he could turn Anakin to the dark side and escalate his master's ultimate plans. Anakin ignited his blade, and in his anger and grief he leapt forward. Dooku easily deflected Anakin's strikes, kicking him away, telling Anakin that he has fear, he has anger, but he doesn't know how to truly use them. Again, Anakin ran at Dooku, and the Sith Lord deflected the strikes easily before hitting Anakin with lightning. He was coaching Anakin, telling him to use these emotions to give him focus. And as Anakin stood back up, he decided to listen. He felt his anger, he felt the hate, the fear, the suffering, and he used them properly, putting them into focus, attacking Dooku once more with the power, and Dooku was immediately caught off guard. Anakin attacked from every angle, his speed was unrelenting, and Dooku was backed up as he parried each attack, but he was falling behind. He saw now that he went too far. He unlocked Anakin's true power, and as they reached a wall, Anakin elbowed Dooku in the face before cutting off his hands and spinning to cut off Dooku's head without hesitation. This was for Padme and Obi Wan. The Sith Lord fell dead, and Anakin felt the darkness around him. But as he stood here, his comlink beeped, and Anakin answered to Yoda and Windu. They were in the temple, and Stas Allie just reported that she and her squad found Obi Wan and Padme alive. Anakin saw now that he was tricked by Dooku to give in to the dark side, and it backfired on Dooku in the end. Anakin told the Jedi that Dooku was dead, and as Yoda and Windu looked to each other, they told Anakin to return to Coruscant at once. Anakin said it would be done, and as he left the ship, the commandos set it to explode, leaving Dooku behind as Tyth was taken back by the Republic. And on Coruscant, Anakin would first meet with the Jedi Council as they asked for exact details about Anakin's encounter with Dooku. Anakin admitted that he did touch the dark side, as Dooku told him that Obi-Wan and Padme were dead. This was extremely concerning for the Jedi, but they were ultimately glad Dooku was dealt with. They would assign Anakin to stay at the temple for a few weeks, find himself in the light, before returning to battle. But first, Anakin had to go to Palpatine's office to recap his mission to the Chancellor. And once inside the office with Palpatine, Anakin told him everything, and Palpatine had an idea. Anakin was nearly ready to be turned, and so Palpatine told Anakin that Obi-Wan was with Padme on Naboo. Palpatine continued on, saying that the two of them make an interesting couple. Anakin asked what Palpatine was talking about, and Palpatine apologized, saying that he thought Anakin knew. Anakin again asked what he was talking about, and Palpatine said that Obi-Wan and Padme have been seeing each other romantically for a while, and he's sure this mission with each other only furthered their romance. Anakin was clearly shocked, angry, betrayed. He felt lied to. He was lied to. Palpatine smiled to himself as Anakin left the office. Soon, the boy would be ready to accept the dark side for good. Anakin left the office, immediately getting into his ship and leaving for Naboo without telling anyone. He needed to see for himself if Palpatine was telling the truth. And so, as Anakin traveled to Naboo, a group of Jedi including Plo Koon and Kit Fisto traveled to Sereno, infiltrating the Separatist blockade, sneaking into Dooku's abandoned castle. Sidious was so focused on Anakin that he basically ignored the fact that Dooku's castle was now unguarded with Dooku dead. The two Jedi were able to get into Dooku's communications room, finding a Mechno chair with a message from a hooded figure, ordering Dooku to organize an assassination attempt on Padme. To the Jedi, a couple things became very clear about this message. This had to be Dooku's master, Darth Sidious, and this man also eerily resembled Chancellor Palpatine. So the two Jedi would return to Coruscant with this Mechno chair, showing it to the Council. Without hesitation, Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, Yoda, Saesee Tiin, and Agen Kolar would travel to Palpatine's office with intent to arrest him or kill him if needed. As Palpatine was in his office, waiting for an update from Naboo, hoping Anakin turns to the dark side and kills Obi-Wan in his anger, the group of Jedi entered his office. The Jedi said they have clear evidence of him ordering the assassination on Padme, and he is under arrest. Palpatine felt his own hate, his own anger rising up in him. He was so close. Anakin was nearly his. And in this anger, he ignited two red blades, telling the Jedi they will not get in the way of his plans. As the Jedi ignited their blades, Sidious spun through the air, throwing both of his blades as they pierced the hearts of Tiin and Kolar, as the two Jedi died immediately. Sidious landed, grabbing these blades and slicing at the rest of the Jedi. Sidious was attacking relentlessly, and he did manage to cut down Kit Fisto, then slice into Plo Koon's leg. But Yoda and Windu combined were extremely powerful. Sidious fought well, but he quickly died to the Jedi blades, as they all thought peace would be soon achieved. But on Naboo, Obi-Wan was escorting Padme home, where she would stay for a while until the assassins were done. The two of them decided to visit the waterfalls down by the plains, and they were holding hands as they walked together by the water. As Obi-Wan was listening to the water, he heard something strange. It sounded like a lightsaber ignition in the distance. Obi-Wan turned, looking around, and he felt his body go numb as he saw Anakin Skywalker marching towards him. Anakin yelled at Obi-Wan that he took Padme from him, asking how he could do this, and Obi-Wan put up his hands to try and tell Anakin to calm down. But Anakin embraced the darkness against Dooku. He was now angry at Padme and Obi-Wan for this complete betrayal of his love and friendship, so he reached out, grabbing Padme with the Force, and this sprung Obi-Wan into action. Obi-Wan ignited his blade, running at Anakin, forcing him to drop Padme as Obi-Wan swung his blade down at Anakin. The two of them dueled through the grass until Anakin flipped away, telling Obi-Wan that he loved Padme more than anything, asking how he could do this to him. Obi-Wan held up his blade and told Anakin that he is a danger to her, and he sees now that Anakin is a danger to the galaxy when he acts like this. Obi-Wan was a bit delusional himself, blinded by his new love for Padme, and so he told Anakin he will do what he must. And now Anakin flipped towards Obi-Wan, swinging his blade down hard on his former master. They locked their blades together as Anakin told Obi-Wan that Padme is his, before dislodging and swinging hard at Kenobi, backing him up time and time again. The two of them were now atop the waterfalls, and they fought through the raging river pouring down the water. Anakin swung at Kenobi's head, and he ducked before jumping backwards onto a set of rocks. As he landed, Anakin threw his blade through the air, and Obi-Wan barely jumped over it, before being hit with a forced push. Obi-Wan fell hard into the river, getting back to his feet just before the waterfall edge, blocking a new strike from Anakin, and kicking him in the face, battling Anakin across the top of the waterfall. Water was splashing all around them. Their robes were soaked, but they kept fighting. The duel was extremely fast. They were matching each other blow for blow, spinning their sabers around, slicing into the water, through the rocks, and Anakin elbowed Obi-Wan in the face before spinning through the air, stabbing forward, right into Obi-Wan's stomach. Anakin looked down, and he realized that Obi-Wan did the same thing, stabbing through Anakin. Both of them locked eyes with each other, and then they looked over to Padme, who was in complete shock, and the river took both Anakin and Obi-Wan over the edge as they fell forever down into the water below. Padme ran to the edge, seeing neither one of them down below. They were both gone, and she was filled with grief. But she had no choice other than to return home, where she would soon learn the fate of the Republic. Palpatine was exposed as the leader of the Separatists, and with both him and Dooku gone, Grievous was putting up a final fight above Utapau. Within days, Grievous and the Separatists would be defeated by a Jedi strike team, and both the Republic and Separatist Senate would finally begin negotiations to bring peace back to the galaxy. Padme would talk to the Jedi, telling them about Anakin and Obi-Wan. It would be a hard truth for everyone to accept, but they were both gone, and everyone had to move on, as the Republic was in fine shape, trying to take down Maul in his crime war, as Padme Amidala hid her sadness away with her own work, becoming the Chancellor of a rebuilding, prospering Republic. And folks, that is where this story ends today. I really enjoyed this one. Maybe a bit, well, very unrealistic. I don't think this would ever happen. Obviously Obi-Wan's not falling in love with Padme, I don't think. He just wouldn't let it happen. But I wanted to explore the possibility of what if it happened in the Clone Wars. I've seen stories of this before, and all of them pretty much take place, before the Clone Wars, kind of when Obi-Wan meets Padme on Naboo. So I wanted to take the approach of what if it happened during the Clone Wars, and that's the path we go down. Hope you guys enjoyed. Ultimately, Palpatine's death is with him just ordering another assassination attempt, and yeah, the Jedi just kind of go from there with finding out about it. Wanted to get that plotline out of the way so I could have Anakin and Obi-Wan really duel it out, and I have ideas for a part 2 if this does well. We'll see. I don't do a lot of part 2s. I do them very rarely, so we'll see. But yeah, let me know what you thought. Maybe in a part 2, if some people that died in this story may not actually be dead. So either way, we'll see. Let me know. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.